living in America. I think we are anyway. Well, welcome back to the Patrick Riggins Show. Coming to you on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network and locally here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI. Starting off this segment, I want to remind you to keep something front and center in your brain. Yes, there's a lot going on in the world right now, but I want you to not forget Edward Snowden and what our government is still doing. It's still building a massive NSA data center outside Salt Lake City. Let me tell you a little bit about it in case you've forgotten. The heavily fortified $2 billion center is expected to be up and running this month. The facility will consist of 4 25,000 square foot halls filled with servers, complete with raised floor space for cables and storage. In addition, there will be more than 900,000 square feet for technical support and administration. The entire site will be self-sustaining, with fuel tanks large enough to power the backup generators for 3 days in an emergency, water storage with the capability of pumping 1.7 million gallons of liquid per day, as well as a sewage system and massive air conditioning to keep the servers cooled. Electricity will come from the center's own substation, built by Rocky Mountain Power, and capable of supplying the 65 megawatts required for the facility. We talked on the show about this a few months ago. We even put up a link to a detailed article from Wired magazine outlining the technical details of this cyber nightmare. I'll make a note and we'll get that posted again on Facebook after the show, a link to that today. I guess my question is, what have you done, if anything, about what Mr. Snowden alerted you to? Oh, I'm sure you talked about it with your friends and neighbors and coworkers, but what have you done about telling your congressional representatives about it? Have you called or emailed them? Have you written any letters? Have you done anything to try and change what's happening in Washington with all this spying on you? It's come out now that even the DEA has been spying on you, even more so than the NSA has. We posted that story over on our Facebook page this last week. It's facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show. If you can't get it, just call the NSA. They have the backup copy. But my point is that you've had plenty of time to at least call Washington demanding they put a stop to all this spying on Americans. Have you bothered to do that? Have you attended any local political meetings trying to lay the groundwork to get this spying stopped? I don't care which political party you want to work in to get to this goal, the stopping of these spying programs. You can go Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Constitutional, or even the Green Party. The question is, have you attended any meetings and started working to get candidates into office that will stop this sort of thing? So what have you done? Or are you content to let the government get away with doing this type of thing? These are the steps toward tyranny. These are the things occurring that your children and grandchildren will be asking you why nothing was done. You know, they'll be saying, Granddad, you were told all about this spying and you didn't do anything about it. Did you think it was going to stop all on its own? Did you wonder when the government was rounding up all the Jewish people and put them on the train? Did you think that maybe you should have started working to stop this sort of thing? That's what they're going to be asking you. Sure, in the future, the government will have passed legislation outlawing private communication. You will already have to have monitoring built into every communication device so the government has access whenever it wants. Hell, this is already practically happening on the internet. These tech companies are required, in case you missed that, required to allow the government to monitor all of the communications passing through their networks. No choice in the matter, required. So when private communication is outlawed, will you be moaning and complaining then as well, but still not doing anything about it? as I just said, we're already halfway there, and yet you still aren't demanding your representatives do anything about it. Oh, it's about Syria now, Patrick. We're off that Edward Snowden, the NSA spying scandal. Oh, that's so last summer. The new hip thing now is to oppose Syria. Sure, opposing Syria is a good thing, but not having freedom from government snooping is much more important than bombing Syria. It makes a good distraction, though. Speaking of that, I warned you about this type of thing occurring back last summer. Here's a clip from the show back then.
The government wants to divert your attention to the fact that Edward Snowden's a traitor. End of story. That's all there is to it. They have nothing to see here. He's a traitor. And hey, look, now we're talking about immigration. That's a hot button issue to distract you from all this spying. Don't you want to talk about that? These evil illegals coming into this country? You better look out. We're going to give them amnesty. We're going to let them stay and take your jobs. Hey, look. See those shiny keys we're dangling in front of you? Pay attention to that and don't worry about these constitutional violations, these invasions of your privacy.
That was back last summer. Also, on another show, about a week or so after that one, here's another clip from what I said then.
By the way, that's what all this hype about gay marriage and immigration is. It's a distraction from the bigger problem of the government spying on you. You see, gay marriage and immigration, neither of those two issues is as dangerous as the government spying scandal. That's why those things are being pushed to the front of the headlines, the front page of the newspapers. And all this spying, all this NSA, all this government violating your constitutional rights, all of that's being pushed to the back in order to make you forget all about what is really happening in this country.
And you can add to that list Syria. What this radio show is all about is to inform you on what's really going on in this country, to try and help keep you focused on what's important, getting back our freedom and liberty, and stopping this march towards socialism, this march towards steadily increasing governmental tyranny. But if you don't do anything about it, if you just sit out there and say, hey, Patrick sure is right about that, but don't do anything, well, then I'm pretty much wasting my breath. If you're hoping that some politician's going to hear this show and, magically see the light, you're going to be really disappointed. There isn't a politician out there from any party that's willingly going to roll back government without pressure from their constituents. That's what's going to do it. Hoping they'll listen to this show or sending them links from our YouTube channel, none of that's going to work. What will work is you making it clear that they won't be in office past the next election if they don't straighten up and get this government under control. But Patrick, you'll say, grassroots efforts rarely work. Well, you're wrong. Just ask the Tea Party. Getting people together and working isn't that hard, but it isn't just going to spontaneously happen. You have to get involved. I don't know how many different ways I can beg you to try and work towards making your country better. It's like you have a Ferrari sitting in your backyard rusting away. You have this magnificent country that you're allowing to be stolen from you and your children by free-spending, tyrannical politicians and bureaucrats. You sit here week after week listening to me tell you all about the government doing this or the government doing that, yet you won't do anything to fix it. I'm doing my part, more than my part, actually. You want to talk about fairness in the country? Is it fair you have to work where others sit around and collect a government check? It isn't fair how you have to pay your mortgage every month while other people get theirs half forgiven because they were victims of the banks or predatory loans. It's not fair to have to pay for your food and also pay for someone else's too through the food stamp program. Well, how is it fair when some of us are trying to turn this country around? We're trying to stop all this governmental intrusion, and you sit there hoping to enjoy the fruits of our labors. Oh, we got that government spying program rolled back. Oh, that's good. You people did a good job. Glad I didn't have to lift a finger to help, but now I get to enjoy the privacy you people won from me. Does that sound fair to you? Look, I really enjoy doing this radio show, but I'll probably have other things I could be doing. The reason I started this show is because I was sick and tired of watching this country edge closer and closer to a completely government-dictated life. Already there isn't scarcely anything that the government doesn't regulate or have laws regarding. You've grown up under this burden, so you don't realize what it would feel like without it. You haven't experienced the true freedom and liberty that our forefathers had, and that's what we're getting back to. We're up on the bottom of the hour break. Here on the Patrick Reagan Show, we'll have even more when we come back in the last half hour of the Big Weekly Show. Don't miss it.